This is CBS.
Just ahead from News Channel 8 at 5. On a flight from Atlanta to Minneapolis, this plane makes an unscheduled stop in Des Moines.
From the swampy Florida Everglades, a breakthrough in the ValueJet crash.
Frankie and Annette went there all the time. It's a great escape from the Iowa rains. News Channel 8 at 5, coming up next.
It's 5 o'clock, and you are watching KCCI Channel 8 Des Moines, Iowa's news leader, with Steve Oswalt, Deirdre Fitzpatrick, meteorologist Kurtis Gertz, and John Walters. This is News Channel 8.
2 weeks after crashing into the Florida Everglades, a crucial discovery is made in the wreckage of Flight 592. Good afternoon. Thanks a lot for being with us today. I'm Steve Oswalt.
And I'm Deirdre Fitzpatrick. We'll tell you about what was discovered in the ValueJet crash in just a minute, but first, some excitement this morning at the Des Moines International Airport.
And that involved a Northwest Airlines plane. It was on its way from Atlanta to Minneapolis when it had to make an unscheduled stop in Des Moines. Now, the DC-9 made an emergency landing shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. Flight 627 apparently lost power in one of its two engines. And rather than continue to Minneapolis, it stopped in Des Moines. None of the 119 passengers and crew was injured. A second plane picked up stranded passengers and resumed the flight several hours later.
It took 2 weeks to do it, but today they did find the cockpit voice recorder of Flight 592. One of the members of the search crew pulled the box from the water earlier today. About a half hour ago, it was flown to Washington, D.C., to the headquarters of the National Transportation Safety Board. It should provide the last few seconds of conversation in the cockpit of the jet before it crashed.
Don't know if we're ever going to be able to determine what the passengers were actually going through in the cabin. The CVR may give us that clue because with the noises and the conversations that are recorded by the flight crew on the cockpit voice recorder, there may have been a phone call or an intercom call from one of the cabin attendants. You may hear some other background noises. But again, until we get the cockpit voice recorder, there's no way to know exactly what was happening inside that aircraft.
So far, only about 25% of the jet's pieces have been found. 110 people died in the crash 2 weeks ago. No one died, but 11 people are hurt today because of a falling rock.
A boulder crashing into a bus this weekend. It begins our look at news from around the world. It's a bus that shuttles you to gambling casinos, but passengers did not realize what a gamble it was to board it last night. A trash can-sized boulder crashed through the roof and it landed on a passenger's chest inside. Colorado's been seeing a lot of rain, and that rain is tending to loosen all the rocks in the area. The Dayton Peace Accord is loosening the grip on the Bosnian war it has on refugees. About 120 Bosnian Muslims are seeing something that they haven't seen in 4 years. That's home. Family members greeted their bus early today, but there are 2.4 million other refugees who are still in exile in the area.
The personal possessions of a serial killer may not go on the auction block after all. A businessman says he is willing to pay nearly $500,000 for a collection of handcuffs, knives, and blades that belong to Jeffrey Dahmer. He says he's trying to make things easier for the relatives of Dahmer's victims, many of whom will get cash from the sale. 7 Trappist monks are for whom the bell tolls this weekend in France. Islamic extremists murdered the monks in Algeria. These bells ring to remember the monks today. The bells have only rung twice before.
Well, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, but that did not stop the Des Moines Fire Department earlier today. The fire damaged the home even before the firefighters could get there. One of the few good things about this fire, and the people who live in the home were not there when it started. A neighbor called the fire into the fire department. The cause of the blaze has not yet been released.
Iowa farmers may be finding themselves in the high rent district next year. Rented farmland is expected to go up in price. Part of the reason is a new government program with fewer loopholes. Increasing land values and high grain prices are also factors. About half of Iowa's farmland is rented out. And you could probably get a pretty good deal on farmland in the Southwest, especially after the drought that they've been having. A small amount of rain fell on the area over the weekend, but it may be a case of too little, too late, though. It probably will not be enough to reverse the damage. Amarillo cars are seeing a little bit of damage after golf ball-sized hail pounded them. That part of Texas has seen only 2 inches of rain since October, but this weekend the parched grounds of the Texas Panhandle got some very welcome relief. Nearly 4 inches of rain have fallen, but farmers say it's just not nearly enough, and the dry summer months as I well know from growing up in that part of the country, are right around the corner. Actually, they're there. They're in 95 degrees and straight sun every day, which sounds very good.
Interesting part of the country, as is here in Iowa, because we have been getting more than our share of rain here, too. And meteorologist Kurtis Gertz is now in the Weather Center with more. Kurtis?
Oh, what a dandy day out there, huh? Temperatures in the 50s, clouds and rain, and we do have some more of that on the way. But the good news, temporarily, the rain slowly ending. Take a look at live Super Doppler. And again, mainly showers up to the north central part of the state. Still some scattered showers around Ames and Story County. We'll zoom in on that quickly. All this moving off to the east right now at about 30 miles per hour. We are looking for this to slowly dissipate, so just a few sprinkles out there. For tonight, clouds around at 49. Tomorrow, the potential for some heavy rain. A high temperature about 60 degrees. Also could see some flooding tomorrow. We'll talk more on that and how much rain is on the way in just a few short minutes.
It's not over yet.
No, not at all.
All right, Kurtis, thank you. Well, are we there yet? That's the question that kids will be asking this summer as you head out on that family vacation of yours. You'll get there quicker if you don't put any limits on your destination. We'll explain coming up.
And modern day beach blanket bingo coming up next.
Closed captioning of News Channel 8 is brought to you as a public service by KCCI and the cardiologists, surgeons, and staff at the Iowa Heart Center.
If you are troubled by a lead foot, you may have an easier time of things if you're traveling out to the west of Iowa.
Horace Greeley may have been talking about speed limits when he advised go west, young man. That's because North Dakota and Oregon are the only states to the west of Iowa that haven't increased their speed limits. But to the east, things move at a slower pace. Only Florida, Mississippi, and Georgia have raised their speed limits. Here in Iowa, speed limits will be raised on a few four-lane highways. Those include U.S. Highway 65, 69 south of Des Moines and U.S. Highway 218 south of Iowa City.
And there used to be no limit to the amount of fun that you could have in an Iowa ballroom. It was known for its dances and its well-known bands. But Northwest Iowa is now saying goodbye to the tradition. The Woodcliff Ballroom in Spencer will close its doors at the end of the summer. It's been in operation for 66 years now. Two other Iowa ballrooms have closed recently. They include the Val Air in West Des Moines. There are only 13 of these kind of ballrooms left in the entire state of Iowa.
By now, you're probably wishing the rain would have its last dance, but we're going to take you away now from the gray, dreary skies of Iowa to a place that's warm and sunny.
It's Memorial Day weekend. That means one thing.
Let's go to the beach to celebrate it.
Americans nationwide are out of the starting gate. It's an unabashed, full-throttle effort.
Memorial Day weekends, biggest weekends. Has to get color.
To get a tan.
Lots of tan, lots of color, lots of color.
Tanning is an American tradition, but it's the beach that draws the multitudes. The intoxicating mix of sun, surf, and sand. If there's a beach, they will come. It is many things to many people. For some, a rite of passage, a rush of nostalgia.
They went there as teenagers, they went there as young adults, they went there as children, now they're taking their kids.
And it's the only place where you can kind of come back and sort of just get back to like rhythm and stuff like that, like the actual rhythm of nature and stuff. It's also like, you know, for people who are so stressed out, it's a place to sort of like recapture your childhood too.
Nick DiConstanzo spent his childhood on Coney Island during the Depression. He keeps coming back.
There wasn't many places that the parents knew of or could get to for 10 cents car fare. And it's the closest place without taking a journey to Florida or to California.
In spite of the rising costs, the images, the sounds the public associates with the beach, from California to Florida, New Jersey to the lakes of Michigan, continue to draw them in. What's the beach, for example, without music? All kinds of music. Music for a national holiday. For years, the state of mind, the fun, the frolicking, the innocence that the seashore conjures have been celebrated on screen. Beach blanket bingo. Beach blanket bingo.
And her voice gets all breathy.
Here, the 90s version, the much ogled Baywatch. Even a sampling of music and the big screen can't explain all of man's fascination with the seashore.
Pretty ladies. Girls in bikinis.
But it's really about chilling out. In a way, most Americans, a nation of immigrants, came from the beaches, whether it was Ellis Island or Jamestown. That's why it's only fitting that on a national holiday, most Americans would come back to reflect, to relax, to fantasize. It's a warm, affordable, Great Escape. Michael Oku, CNN, New York.
All right, Kurtis. Now, this is the second day in a row that we have led into you with beach bum type stories.
I was hoping for more Baywatch video there.
So was I.
Well, we can play the tape again after the show.
It's miserable out there, isn't it? Yeah. Temperatures in the 50s. We should be in the 70s with some sun to shine. More rain on the way. There you go again. So happy to talk to you. I'm sure you're happy to see me. Forecast. It's next.
Meteorologist Kurtis Gertz has been awarded the National Weather Association Seal of Approval for excellence in television weathercasting. For up-to-the-minute weather information, day or night, call the News Channel 8 Super Doppler Forecast at 262-7173. Sponsored by Strauss Security Systems.
Well, Hanson in Centerville, it's now about 20 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. We had 1.05 inches of rain this morning. We've had 16 days out of 26 that we've had rain this month.
That's right. It's getting a little monotonous, wouldn't you say? Temperatures cool out there, rain falling to the north and east of here, but at least we just have cloudy conditions and a little bit of patchy fog. 52 degrees, cloudy skies, winds out of the east at 15, gusting upwards of 21 miles per hour. The dew point at 50 degrees. Relative humidity 93% and the barometer 29.88. And it is steady. Well, the rain is pushing out of the state presently. Most of us got anywhere from about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. A little more down about Centerville, though, as Walter mentioned there. Most of the showers up to the north of us. Still a little activity around Story County. And again, most of this is slowly dissipating up to the north of us, and they're going to see sprinkles, but still some rain from Boone to Story City to Ames, and again sliding off to the east at about 30 miles per hour. Temperatures across the state right now, 53 in Mason City, 53 in Fort Dodge, Decorah 56. 56 in Waterloo, the normal high. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? 76 and the normal low at 55. Across central Iowa right now, 53 in Boone, 54 in Webster City, and 52 in Atlantic. Satellite pictures, storms blow up once again, pushed across the state. Most of the strong and severe thunderstorms well to the south of us. Look at the last frame here. Storms blowing up in Kansas and parts of Slide in the southern Nebraska. Severe thunderstorm watches in effect for parts of Missouri. Tornado watches in effect for parts of Kansas. And later on tonight, some of this action is going to be rolling our way. But again, most of that severe weather going to stay down to the south of us. For tonight, area of low pressure moving in from the southwest. Frontal system still down to the south of us. The very warm air well down to the south of us. Tomorrow, all this will push into the region. There is the potential for some heavy rain across the state. We could see rainfall amounts anywhere from 2.11 inches to 2.09 inches. The computer models in agreement. Already a flash flood watch in effect for Montgomery and Page County. This goes into southwestern Iowa because of the potential for heavy rain and because we've had so much rain. Soil is saturated. We can't take much more. And as we head to tomorrow, rule out a flash flood watch for central Iowa. High temperatures tomorrow in the 60s here, 50s to the north and 70s and 80s down to the southeast. Forecast for tonight, it goes like this as we get through this tumultuous and terrible forecast as I'm being asked to stretch. You want to hear a story about my boyhood? Well, there we go. Showers and thunderstorms late. Low about 49 degrees. I was a good kid. There's no stories. East winds 10 to 15. For your Memorial Day, and heck, we better talk about my boyhood because it's better than this forecast, isn't it? Let's look at Monday. Look for showers and thunderstorms, unfortunately. High about 60 degrees. Could see some heavy rain again. We'll have to watch out for that flood threat. Monday night, showers and thunderstorms, low about 51. And then for your Tuesday, scattered showers and a high of 62. Here's the 5-day forecast. Wednesday doesn't have any rain in it. It has clouds. And Thursday and Friday, we warm up into the 70s.
No childhood stories if they have rain in them.
I don't even want to talk about mine. I want to think about the future. Some sun in our future someday.
Oh, we could use some of that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kurtis.
If you think all high school kids take graduation for granted these days, you would be wrong. 19-year-old Chris Weeks says his graduation is quite an accomplishment, especially since he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy 10 years ago. But it didn't stop him from working very, very hard. And this weekend, he is graduating from Hoover High School. NewsChannel 8's Todd Bagel will have his story and tell you what's next for Weeks tonight at 10 on NewsChannel 8.
Can't wait to see that story. He's a very interesting kid and been watching him for years. Well, for racing fans, today's Indy 500 simply had it all.
Even a surprise ending. And John Walters will have those highlights and the rest of the day's sports coming up next.
KCCI's got good news. News Channel 8 won more Iowa Associated Press and Iowa Broadcast News Awards than any other station. News Channel 8, the most honored broadcast news organization in Iowa. It's what you would expect from Iowa's news leader.
Sometimes it takes a different kind of leader to tackle the problems that really matter to families around here. That's why Leonard Boswell led his fellow Democrats to pass Iowa's welfare reform plan that limits benefits and requires work. And Iowa seniors know Boswell doesn't play politics with Medicare, he protects it. As senator, he established a rainy day fund to safeguard Iowa families from Newt Gingrich's Medicare cuts. Taking care and taking a stand. That's Leonard Boswell, a father, a farmer, a leader, making a difference.
On a day that used to be reserved for just the Indianapolis 500, a battle of egos has taken something away from all that. Many of the IndyCar drivers, the top ones, not present at the Brickyard today, and it showed. The race was marred by several collisions, including this one on pit road, for heaven's sake. They couldn't even get out of pit road. Meanwhile, plenty of mishaps on the track as well. Scott Harrington and Lynn St. James send the debris flying right here. Yellow flag was out early and often. We'll jump ahead now. 8 laps to go. Watch from Davy Jones' car as Buddy Lazier blows right by him there. And once Lazier had the lead, he would not relinquish it. At the finish, it's Buddy Lazier winning the Indianapolis 500, his top previous finish in the race, 14th. And just after Lazier had crossed, yet another crash. Alessandro Zampedri's car going right over the top of Roberto Guerrero. That's a bit too scary. Guerrero would later find tire marks on his helmet. But Buddy Lazier finds his way to the milk. He is the Indianapolis 500 champion and gets a big swig, as is tradition. Meanwhile, the rival U.S. 500 race in Brooklyn, Michigan is still going on at this hour. It was delayed after a 12-car crash on the final warm-up lap. We'll bring you the highlights tonight at 10. After a terrific run, the Iowa softball team has finally been eliminated from the College World Series. The Hawks falling to Arizona today. 10-2 that final. Iowa had reached the Final Four for the second consecutive year. We'll have highlights of this game tonight on our 10 o'clock news. At Sec Taylor this afternoon, the grounds crew did a heck of a job just making sure the Iowa Cubs could get in their game against Buffalo. The Bisons would get on the board early against Kevin Foster. Don Sparks with the shot off the left field wall. That scores a run, but Foster settled down after that, and the I-Cubs got their bats going. Robin Jennings, the sweet swing. That's a solo home run to make it 2-1 I-Cubs, and they would then break it open in the fourth inning. Mike Carter, the single up the middle to score 2. 6-1 I-Cubs the final. They'll have the day off tomorrow, then host Omaha on Tuesday afternoon. In the major